Using your own stem cells can be an extremely successful method to help regenerate native tissue in rotator cuffs, meniscus tears, and reduce pain in osteoarthritic joints.
And which joints have you seen good success with?
Shoulders, elbows, hips, knees, even wrists and ankles. And in this live webinar, we'll tell you all about the procedure, how simple and safe it is using your own stem cells, and how we determine if you're a candidate.
Dr. Wagner has performed over 20,000 stem cell procedures. Are you in pain? Join him Tuesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. for the free stem cell webinar and learn all about this amazing procedure. Register now at drmarkwagnermd.com. That's drmarkwagnermd.com.
It's going back, go on a grand slam for J.P. Crawford. He comes up big again.
You're listening to 710 KIRO AM Seattle and KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma, the home of the Mariners. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
The Mariners swept the Angels over the weekend with Seattle starters giving up no runs and the bats heating up. Highlights included a grand slam from JP on Saturday, a 3-hit night from Julio, and a bases-clearing double for Mitch Garver on Sunday. That sweep came following some big news from the club on Friday when the team announced they parted ways with offensive coordinator and bench coach Brant Brown. From the press release, they announced that Director of Hitting Strategy Jarrett DeHart and Assistant Hitting Coach Tommy Joseph will expand their roles with the hitters. Meanwhile, the club will internally add another set of hands to backfill Brown's role.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time.
This is Bump and Stacy
On Seattle Sports.
streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Happy Monday. Hope everyone had a beautiful weekend. You got to watch a Mariners sweep. That's where we're starting for the first 15 here. We've got to talk about a major contract extension in the NFL. A little bit of controversy around this one coming up at 10:30. Before we get to it, though, Bump, how's it going, buddy?
What's up? Nah, it's going. It's going. Angels got swept. Not a mop. I just learned that, before the weekend. They got swept, so it was nice to see these bats get hot as you step into June. It makes sense, right?
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I was going to say, and the weather's going to get nicer. Did you guys get that flood warning thing on your phone?
I did, yeah.
What was that? Did that happen in other areas? Was it supposed to happen here? Is it happening tonight? What
I
about
think it was supposed to happen overnight last night.
So nothing ever happens. So I live in North Seattle, which is close to Seattle proper. So you always get the lesser version of whatever weather's going to happen, right? Anytime it's supposed to snow, it never snows downtown. It snows in Monroe, right? Yeah. You get all of it. You send us pictures and you go, guys, I can't come into work. And I want to be like, me neither. Totally. It's just raining here. Which is why I was surprised that the QFC in my neighborhood apparently had people stocking up like it was going to be some huge storm. Toilet paper, batteries, flashlights, everyone acting like it's going to be the apocalypse. And I was like, did you get this alert on accident? I mean, I appreciate the weather service for letting us know and keeping us safe, but I was sitting here expecting,
I need you to do something, though.
Yeah.
Stock up on some stuff for me. So I have to worry about you when we do get these alerts.
I'll be fine.
I'm thinking, all right, well, just still go get some extra little something. Get a little something. A little something.
I need to go
so
get
you
some
can
allergy
last.
medication.
You can last 3 or 4 days.
I think that if I were trapped in I want everyone to ask themselves this question. It's just nothing to do with sports. If you were trapped in your home for 3 days, if you were trapped in your home for 10 days, do you have enough there to survive? Let's pretend that you did not have electricity and you don't have running water.
Yeah, we're good.
You're good?
Yep.
Curtis?
I think we would have enough diapers.
I can go 3 days, but then I'm out of LaCroix.
LaCroix.
Matthew, I feel like you're good for 2 weeks with your pops.
Honestly, that sounds like heaven to me. Being locked in my apartment for 2 weeks with no one else, perfect. Let's do it.
It's the end of the world.
The
They're
amount of
unfortunately, no one can go
marathons.
anywhere. Matt's like, no. Oh, that's such
I have
a
so
bummer.
many shows on Hulu to catch up on. This sounds like a dream.
And now you can't feel in any way am I being lazy? Should I go outside? Anyways, that's just an aside. I was very confused by that. But the bats heated up. I don't know if it has to do with the weather getting warmer. That's where I was going with it. But does it have to do with something else? On Friday, the Mariners fired offensive coordinator Brant Brown. Now, I want to start this segment by saying I don't think that just firing your offensive coordinator means you immediately see results. We recognize that. But we're kind of trying to combine two stories here, which is on the one hand, a sweep over a bad team where your offense looks really solid. And on the other hand, moving on from your offensive coordinator. So let's start by first reacting to the firing of Brant Brown. Scott Service on Friday announced it pregame.
We brought Brant Brown in, to start the season with us, and obviously we've had some struggles on the offensive side, and it's not all Brant's fault by any means. It's just want to make a change there, maybe a little different voice, with our players, and really need to get our guys focused back into doing what they do best, and I think that's coaching. How do you get the most out of your guys, and that's what we're going to focus on here going forward.
I was a bit surprised to see the Mariners make what I thought was kind of an aggressive move, or at least a definitive move, right? Firing someone, moving on from someone in May. Were you?
Yeah, I was. Because I feel like the Mariners they're the type of organization that just they stick to their method and their philosophy. They're saying, look, no, we believe in this group. These players are going to make it work. Obviously, you have guys who get called up and get sent back down. But this was one of those, it reminded me of just a football team or a basketball team. They always find some type of excuse if it's not the players, it's got to be the coaches, right? And obviously, he played a role in what this team was doing and what they weren't doing. So it's safe to say that he had his hands all over what was going on here. But no, I was surprised, man. I thought they would write it out with the coaching staff and maybe do something at the trade deadline. And Curtis sent us a clip where he's describing what he does for the team.
So I have that for you here. I was just about to say, part of this entire thing is I wish I knew more about what the heck Brant Brown was doing with this team. This is how he explained it back in spring training.
But I don't think they're sure on what an offensive coordinator entails. Can you talk to us about that?
I think it's basically just a part of a collaboration with JD and Tommy, and being able to diversify our strengths to where we can split up our bandwidth to where we're not hustling and bustling every single day and can actually be a human being for a moment in time on game day. So I'm very pleased to be a part of this collaboration with those boys, and looking forward to the season coming up.
That's me writing my resume at 21 years old.
Anybody got a clear picture?
Looking to expand my experience with a company where I can bring my experience as an inexperienced person looking to learn. That's what I would have said.
This is what I heard. There's a lot going on there, but what I heard is like, look, I'm just here to help these guys out and do things that they don't want to do. Essentially, that's what I heard. There's no real everyday, this is what I'm working on, this is what I'm doing. And because I really got nothing out of that, it makes me question, okay, what were his relationships like with the players? I think we saw a quote from Haniger that said, it really helps him out and he understands mechanics and all that. If you are on the professional level, you know the game. There's no doubt Coach knew the game. Maybe it was the way he communicated the game at times that left some people confused, because listening to that clip, Stacey, I was confused. Like, what exactly do? You sound like you're just a helper. And what teams do with some of these coaches is they create titles and roles for these guys just because they like them around and they can help them out. So, no, it wasn't clear. I'm sure that when he sat down with Service and the rest of the guys, his day-to-day was pretty straightforward. He knew what he was doing, but it just sounds like they liked him. He was a good coach, and they created a spot for him.
360, this is what he does. He takes the heat and gets fired for a team that's not hitting well, with a little upside-down emoji smiley face like, wah. Here's the thing. I was wondering that over the weekend as well. I was thinking, like, okay, look, is this someone who is taking the fall, who's being a scapegoat, who's being fired because the offense is underperforming, not just underperforming, but like really bad, and heads need to roll somewhere? Or is there real blame to go around? And what's unfortunate is we never, as a show, got a chance to interview Brant Brown. We never got a chance to find out more in depth about kind of their philosophy and what they want. And I think if the Mariners were here, they'd tell us, well, you know our philosophy. But no, I wanted to know, like, who are the voices behind the scenes? Where is the messaging coming from? Who's working with who? Who oversees everything? Like, you guys have a huge problem, which is you can't make consistent contact and you're striking out a ton. All people want to know is like, well, what's going on behind the scenes? So when someone gets fired, you naturally think, like, was he responsible for it, or is he just a scapegoat? At the end of the day, though, I'll say this. Your job was to help the offense, and the offense was bad. No matter if you think you didn't, you're not responsible for things, if you think it's a bigger issue, if you think he's just getting fired so someone gets fired, his job was to make the offense great, and he did not.
I think it's all the above. I think that he is a scapegoat. I think that he was hired to do a job to help the bats, and it wasn't working. I think that he did probably connect with some players, and it worked out for them. He maybe didn't connect with Julio or maybe the more prominent names on this roster. It's all the above. The one thing I do appreciate about the move, I hate seeing a guy get fired. I'm not a hater like that. But what I do appreciate about the move is that they did something. Instead of just sitting back and saying, we're going to work it out, we're going to work it out, we're going to figure this thing out. No, they did something. Unfortunately, they had to fire my mans, but when your job title says offensive coordinator and that offense ain't doing much, then you got to answer some questions. And I think there's a reason why. Let's say if the Mariners were one of the hottest teams in baseball and they're putting up a whole bunch of runs, I guarantee you we talking to a hitting coach or two. But because they're not, naturally, what do? You protect your guys. You go, we're not going to put them on the morning, midday, or evening show because they're going to ask questions that are going to put him in a difficult spot. Like it or not, that's what organizations are supposed to do, protect their players and protect their coaches. So something was off there. I'm sure he's probably going to get hired somewhere else. He will be in this league again, but it just wasn't working out here. Something needed to be done, and they're not going to get rid of any of these players, so they went after a coach.
Look, do I think that there was some kind of offensive explosion as a direct result of Brant Brown being fired? No. But there was a lot of offense. Now, you're playing a really bad Angels team. That's a big part of it. But, man, did the bats get hot. You had so many great moments like this one from Saturday, JP's Grand Slam.
The 2-2 to JP. Breaking ball. Swung on. Driven deep to right. It's going back. Go on a Grand Slam for JP Crawford. His fourth of his career. He comes up big again. And the Mariners have a 5-0 lead here in the fourth inning.
Kept piling it on, and you know what? Were it not for that Grand Slam, we'd all be talking about Julio having a 3-hit night and 2 RBI, and everything's great, 3 for 4. Unfortunately, JP steals the show with that Grand Slam, driving in Haniger, Raley, and Bliss with 3 runs in that game.
Yeah, big ups JP. He almost had a Grand Slam to win it the other night. Came up a little short. But it doesn't surprise me no more when JP comes through clutch like this. This is just what he does. So good for him. Also, big ups for Bliss, man. Got his first hit. Also, he is so fast on those dang bases, man. 5'7", 165 pounds. You got to be able to move, and he can move. So good for these guys doing what you're supposed to do against a team you're supposed to do it against. We knew coming in the Angels were going to give up a bunch of runs. The pitching wasn't going to be great. And if you can